Hi guys, so you're about to do another discussion. Remember, discussions are just an easy way for me to get to see you do one problem in more detail. So make sure you take your time and answer each part of the question so that you can get this easy part of your grade. So for this discussion, we're talking about two things: perfect square trinomials and difference of two squared. So these are special cases. So let's start first with the perfect square trinomial. So what a perfect square trinomial is it means it came from a binomial being multiplied by itself. So for example, x plus 4 times x plus 4. And when you do that multiplication, you come out with this. So this is a perfect square trinomial. Here's another example. So x minus 10 times itself. So x minus 10 times x minus 10. When you do that multiplication, you come up with this. So this is called a perfect square trinomial. So a perfect square trinomial just means you had one thing multiplied by itself, a binomial multiplied by itself. So either of these would be great examples for perfect square trinomials, and you can also come up with your own. Another special case was called a difference of two squares. The difference of two squares is similar, but if you notice, this is an x plus 4 times an x minus 4. So those signs are different in there. And what happens with that is it makes that middle term drop out, because when you do your multiplication, you go x times x is x squared. X times minus 4 is minus 4x. And then 4 times x is plus 4x. So we see we had that minus 4x, and then we had a plus 4x. That cancels each other out. And then the 4 times minus 4 is minus 16. So the difference of two squares has these opposite signs in here, which makes that middle term drop out. So we end up with just x squared minus 16. So here's another example. Again, it's x minus 10 times x plus 10. So the signs are different, and when you do that, that middle term drops out. So these are examples of a difference of two squares. So for this discussion, you have to come up with an example of each one of those. So you could use one of these examples if you just wrote them down. So 1A would say, give an example of a perfect square trinomial. So you just have to come up with any one that is a perfect square trinomial. And it also asks you, what is the factored form? So that's the part that you actually might want to start with on this. So come up with anything. X plus, just pick something, 3. And for perfect square trinomials, you want it to be multiplied by itself. X plus 3 times x plus 3. And so to give the example of the perfect square trinomial, you'd have to actually multiply this out. So that one comes out to be x squared plus 6x plus 9. And then you have to do the same thing for a difference of two squares. You're coming up with your own example. So you could start here if you want. What is the factored form? So remember, the difference of two squares is going to be like x plus 3 times x minus 3. And when I multiply that out, that middle term drops out. I end up with x squared minus 9. So you can come up with your own equations or examples, or you can use mine if you watch this video.